Morning guys, it's cold, it's damp, it's a typical southern English winter. We're well into December now, and it will soon be Yuletide and all the things that happen around that time. I've got some views on that which I may expound later. I'm not going to spend too long in the woods today. I'm down here primarily to get some holly and a couple of bits of ivy. I'm making a bower. To hang up as part of our Yuletide decorations indoors. And I just thought I'd have a wander around and try out a new lens. I've got a new lens for my Nikon. It's a Tamron 18 to 200mm macro lens. I wanted a really versatile lens, not high end, because I'm not that much into photography, but I wanted just the ability just to take the one lens out that will cover most things. Obviously I've got a dog out with me today, and it's very nice. It's a very pleasant day, it's sunny. We've had a bit of in the north, in northern England and in Scotland, they've had what they call a weather bomb. They've had high winds of 70 to 80 miles an hour and very high seas, 40-foot waves. But down here it's just cold and it's damp. We don't get a lot of snow in this country, which is unfortunate, and it does make our winters seem rather dreary without the snow. Just snow, it sort of brightens things up. But anyway guys, I shall be back in a bit with some more burblings. I'm on the wander, as I said, for some holly. So I shall see you in a bit. Well, I went on knitted me a jumper the other week, a rather nice one, and what I was going to do is I was going to buy some buttons, but I thought better still I'm going to make my own buttons. Now, last winter this branch of beech fell down, was blown down off a tree, and obviously a beech tree, and there's a piece here which I'm going to try and use for buttons. I'm going to cut it there and I'm going to trim it off there, and I might be able to get the buttons I need out of it. It'd be nice to do homemade buttons. Anyway guys, there we go. Well, here we go guys, a nice stand of holly, and I'm going to try and sort through this and pick out a few pieces to put on my bower. What's that little doggy? These are all primarily male plants due to the fact there's no berries on them. got some holly leaves here, and as you can probably tell, you've got prickles on there. Now you'll find that prickles run on the lower part of the bush. If you go further up in the tree, the leaves tend to smooth out a bit, and apparently it's an anti-browsing thing. That hasn't stopped me from browsing them today. That's very, very nice. Gonna have a wander around a bit, see if I can find a bit more, and I'll catch you down the line, guys. Oops, sorry. Oh, and of course I'm using my trusty Jack Law knife. Right. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was trimming what I needed for my bower off a male holly bush, and this is a fine example of a female holly bush. You can see the nice red berries. The holly bears a berry as red as Christ's blood. There's some nice carols for this time of the year. One of my favourite is the Holly and the Ivy, which has some pagan overtones to it. Also, I like some of the more older carols. Sadly, at work at the moment, all the music we're getting is mostly 20th century music, and quite bland and sort of highlighting more or less what I would say the commercial side of this time of the year. Some more on that later when I'm making up my bower. Anyway, this is quite nice. Sorry about the noise in the background, but still a lot of construction going over to my left. There he is, the little hound. He's having a wander around. He's quite enjoying it today. We went out last night and to see some Christmas lights that people have put up in their gardens and on their houses, which are actually far better than what the town's done. The town has put up some lighting, but it's utterly pants really. But it's just such a nice day today, very pleasant. As I say, cold, damp, but pleasant. Well guys, I've been around the woods and I've got my holly as you saw. Now I'm at home and we've got plenty of ivy in the back garden. So I'm going to harvest some of this and carry on with doing the bower. I'll see you in a bit, guys. Well guys, I'm at home now and I've got my holly. Got quite a bit of a bunch. Here we go. Ow, 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 ow. Obviously it's very prickly. And I've got the ivy as well. And I'll come to that in a minute. Yuletide is a funny time of year really. Changes a little bit wherever you go around Europe. Say places like Germany, parts of France, Scandinavia get lots of snow. Same with Austria, Switzerland, lots of snow. So basically their traditions obviously involve snow. In the UK we'd like our traditions to involve lots of snow, but even today, it's middle of December, and as I look out there, it's quite dry. It's cold, it's quite a nip in the air. It's called a quick wind because it cuts right through you rather than goes around you. And we expect, because we've got in our cultural memory, going back to just before the Victorian period, we had what is known as a mini ice age, where the Thames froze over. And in our cultural memory, we're still with that. You know, we've still got that within ourselves, and we always expect snow. We normally get a bit of snow around January, February time, and the thing is, particularly where I live around in the southeast of England, we get about that much snow on the ground. The whole world comes to a halt and everybody panic buys, and it's quite funny because they think they're going to get snowed in for months and months and months, so they buy loads of bread, milk, lots of provisions, stockpile the cupboard, and 2 days later the snow's gone. We have had some doozies in the past. I mean, within my memory, we've had some really good snowfalls. But nothing that could acquaint to say like you get in Canada, northern US, and in other parts of the world. Well, anyway, I digress. Well, it's not digress as such. Be making one of these. This is the frame of the bower. For the frame, I've used rattan cane. I've had this sitting up in the man cave for a long time. It was originally Avalon's dad's cane. He used to do a lot of basket weaving when he was a younger man, and I sort of inherited all that sort of stuff. You can make this out of many things. Willow, you know, just soak some willow down, get a bit of green willow, steam bend it into a circle. These bowers, which I'm attempting to make, and I will be in a minute, have quite a long history. They were the things that we used to hang up in our households before the advent of Christmas trees, and they were decorated with evergreen items, primarily holly and ivy, and occasionally mistletoe was hung in the middle of them. Haven't got any mistletoe. I haven't seen any about around here for a long time. You used to be able to buy it, but I haven't seen any for sale for a couple of years. And probably if I went to a garden centre I might find it. But regardless of that, these are quite traditional. The Christmas tree was an import from Germany. A lot of the Yuletide celebrations are imports, you know. The things that are predominantly British are Christmas crackers and Christmas cards. The idea of Santa Claus, Father Christmas, call him what you will, actually originally comes from Scandinavia and Germany. The idea of the chap coming down the chimney goes back to the Finns, the Sami, where the shaman would come down the smoke hole of their lavu in the winter. I say, and these bowers would have been hung up in the household. There's a very good description of one in Charles Dickinson's Pickwick Papers, and when Mr. Pickwick and his little gang of people go to Dingley down in Kent for Christmas holidays, and there they have a grand time. But it is a wonderful time of year. It does there is a lot of frustration, there's a lot of stress to do with this time of year. We can't help that. There's so much riding on this time of the year to get everything just about right, you know. Everybody wants to get the celebrations right. Everybody wants to get the correct present for the person. Apart from people like myself that work in supermarkets, or like Avalon that works in a fast food outlet, a lot of people have time off, and they normally have a couple of weeks. That adds to the stress. But I personally feel, though we got a lot of stress in that, there's something missing. And over the years, I think we've forgotten how to celebrate. When I was a kid, we made a lot of the foodstuffs, you know, the mince pies, the cake and that. We didn't buy a lot of that. It was made at home. Okay, I worked in a bakery and we made mince pies in the bakery. We sold them during the year and we made Christmas cake, but my family will make a lot of that stuff. The Christmas Day feast was a Christmas Day feast, and it's a wonderful feast. We would spend all Christmas Eve getting prepared for the next day. Now I've got to try and work out which I'm going to have for the top and bottom. I think I'll have that as the top, and obviously that as the bottom, yeah. Yeah, we would spend the whole day, the whole Christmas Eve, getting ready for the next day. Some of us will be preparing carrots and others will be preparing parsnips. The turkey will be thawing out, or the chicken. I mean, when we was very, very young, we had chicken. We didn't have turkey. Chicken back then was quite an expensive meat, and even my mum's mentioned that during the war, you know, chicken was a luxury item. Now, well, chicken was a luxury item. Now, chicken is an everyday thing. It's spread very quickly. And as kids, we were so excited. You know, it's like Father Christmas was going to come down the chimney and deliver presents to us. And we would all look forward to, whoops, I know it's slipping up. And we would all look forward to this time of year, this wonderful celebration of life. Even as a child, I didn't hold much credence in the Christian side of it, but that's from my own personal point of view. But other than that, which is going to be a bit of a duty to knock up, I think. Yeah, other than that, it was a grand time of year, and it still is in my book. I think Christmas is what you make it. I do try and enjoy myself. I spend most of the time, and I spent the last month or so doing a 6-day week, which I've enjoyed. You know, gets a bit of money in the old coffers, but I'm trying to enjoy it. This is the first Christmas in a number of Christmases that I really feel positive about. Okay, I've had a few little hiccups along the way, but I really feel like things are coming together quite well. As I say, many of the Christmas traditions are imported. Obviously, oh, I've lost my string, there it is. Obviously the turkey comes from America, and that was an expensive dish at one time. Most people, up until quite recently, and people still do, they have a goose. Now, the goose has become quite expensive now, but at one time I would assume it was a cheap meat, and it was something that the family had on Christmas Day to enjoy themselves, to enjoy the Christmas feast. And it was a feast, as I was saying. Our festivities used to start on New Year's Eve, and I say preparing all the food. We would wake up Christmas Day, typical kids. We would probably be awake long before our parents were awake, because obviously we went to bed a bit earlier. And oh, this is quite prickly, this holly. And we woke up the next day, there was a stocking full of goodies, and in that stocking we had oranges and nuts and an apple. I can remember one year, now some of you English guys might remember, the other ones that are around about my age might remember two puppets on 1960s TV called Fred Barker and Pussycat Gwillem. And one year I had them as puppets in my stocking. Then we'd all rush downstairs, and it'd be a quick case of a fine breakfast. I mean, it was a fine breakfast, and that's when we started to eat. And it was, this is getting very, very hard to tie a knot in. I'll cut the string too short, I think. Yeah, we would have a wonderful breakfast, eggs, kippers, porridge. It was huge, and we really feasted well, and that set us up for the day. As soon as breakfast was away and we sorted the washing up out, that's that side done. Got it. Right. Whoa. And as soon as breakfast was away, we got dinner on the go. Took ages to cook the turkey, obviously. It always seems to take a long time to cook the turkey. And we would have put the sprouts on in October, because you can't have Christmas dinner without overcooked sprouts. Joking aside, that was just a little humorous bit. Well, actually our sprouts have always done quite well. Where are we? But come here, little monkey. Yeah. Yeah, our sprouts have always done very well. And we had chestnuts with the sprouts, and it was all very convivial. Midday meal was huge. The table used to groan under the weight of the food. There was wines and beers on the table. There was all sorts. I mean, not only did we have I say very early days, we had a chicken, a big chicken. We also had pork, which incidentally is more of a traditional food for the Yuletide festivities, because it was the preferred beast of Freya, goddess of fertility. She was doing bits and pieces around this time of year in Nordic mythology. And we and we would have pork. And pork is, as I say, a traditional food for the winter time. And then we would all, once the that midday meal, that feast was done, again it was washing up to be done, you know, and it was, well, you ate it, you wash it up. We all had to do our little bit. You know, there was no getting away from it. You know, if Mum had cooked, the rest of us had to do the washing up. There we go. Now, we did, there we go. I'm getting there slowly, but there we go. I like to think the bower is a representation of the world. And the holly and the ivy, I think, to me, represents that in the midst of winter, in the darkest days, particularly in January and February, when the days get really dark. We don't even know we're approaching the shortest day of the year at the moment. It's really dark, and I think we this evergreen of the holly and the ivy shows us that even in the dark days there is life, and life will come again. It will return. But as I was saying, we would all pitch in, and then in the afternoon open our presents up, and some presents didn't always last that long, but you know, it's not. But I think my parents did very well when we were young. Hats off to my mum and dad. They were grandparents. Anyway, as I was saying, I digressed. And then, basically, I mean, just before we opened our presents, Mum would have got a buffet set up on the side table in the living room, and it'd be like that for a couple of days. And basically, over the next couple of days, it was just one big buffet. Food was always laid out. There were cakes and sweetmeats, bread, butter, stuff to put in the sandwiches, obviously the cold turkey or the cold chicken, the cold pork, all there, cold meat and taters on Boxing Day, all there to be eaten over the next few days. And it was a grand time. We celebrated. TV was Christmas TV, not the rubbish you get today. You know, the same stuff. Christmas TV these days is just what you get in June, but with a bit of tinsel around it. And I personally think we knew how to celebrate a bit more. Now, the commercial guys have got hold of it, and they've made a right mess of it. We no longer have, I know I'm going to do it this time, we no longer have the fun of Christmas. You know, the one thing that does annoy me is they say, oh, Christmas is for kids. It isn't for kids, it's for everybody. It's for everybody to get out and enjoy themselves, to be a part of the festivities. If it is for kids, then we're all children at heart. It's to celebrate a time of year where there's darkness. I mean, in ancient Rome, this time of the year was Saturnalia. In Nordic mythology, it was the Yuletide, and we would have, or in Northern Europe, it was Yuletide, and Yule comes from a Scandinavian word meaning wheel, and we celebrated the cycle of the year. Got a lot more. And it was so, and we celebrated the cycle of the year. Now, I seem to be going over the same ground when it comes to chatting away today, but what the heck, I'm just trying to put over a point about celebrating life, and wow, I did get a lot. Celebrating life and the continuance of life, and the fact that we should try and enjoy ourselves more. We've developed a society where we don't, and I've lost a bit of string there. I think we've developed a society where we cannot possibly, where we think by spending lots of money and throwing money at something, you know, buying the most expensive present maybe, or buying loads and loads of food, we're going to somehow enjoy ourselves more. And I don't think we do in the end, because, you know, we sit down, plonk the telly on, and got it. And we just veg out. I would like to think that there are people in the world that will celebrate. I mean, this year my Christmas meal will consist of venison, partly because I happen to like venison. Okay, this isn't going to be as good a bower as I thought it was going to be, but I shall save those 2 bits of holly for the bottom. I need a bit more string. No, it's this is the first bower I've actually ever made, and I've always wanted to make one, and I was charged by Avalon, my dearly beloved lady, to knock one up this year. The inspiration came from a programme we saw earlier in the year called the Monastery Garden, Monastery Kitchen Garden, something like that, and it was 3 archaeologists who do a lot of reconstructions, and they set themselves up as living in a Tudor monastery. Well, not a Tudor monastery, they were farmers for a Tudor monastery, and they were going through all that period, and they basically did half the year. They did from midsummer basically right through till Christmas time. You know, and it's very interesting, and it gave Avalon and myself the idea of doing this, and Avalon said, well, why don't we make one? And so I'm actually doing one. There is another Christmassy item that often gets forgotten, and that's one of these. I'll tell you what, make your nose, wow, it's a pomander. The word comes from an old French word meaning apple amber, which was which is something made out of apple grease, an apple-shaped ball made from ambergris. But this is an orange studded with lots and lots of cloves. I'll tell you what, mate, they are pungent and they are beautiful. Really sets the house up nicely. On our Christmas tree this year, I did some. I dried out some oranges in my dehydrator, and that has come over really well. Really nice, a really nice effect. It's a wonderful piece. They look very nice. They've dried out rather nicely. They were a little bit tacky when I poured them out of the dehydrator the other day, but they are now very, they've now dried out quite nicely and are looking very well. Now, I think this is when I was a kid as well, going back to when I was a young child, particularly when I was at school, we used to make paper chains which we would take home. There's a little strip of coloured paper, and some of you may remember this, with a bit of gum at either end, or a bit of gum at one end, and we used to make these paper chains to hang. And I used to enjoy, I had about 5 at a time, but it was such a wonderful world, you know. And then, wow, this is looking good. What do you think, guys? Look at that. I mean, I want to find something to hang down in the middle there, but to me that's the spirit of Christmas. I mean, you're actually making something yourself. You've not gone to the shops. I've gone out into the woods to get some holly. I've gone to the back garden. I've got some ivy. The 2 evergreens of old England. I mean, I went round the woods today and there was a lot of other evergreen stuff, laurel and rhododendron, which are basically imports. But, you know, looking at that, looking at the rest of it, it's marvellous, you know. And the woods were wonderful. Damp, yes. Cold, yes. It was a rather biting wind. And it was a typical English, to my mind, a typical southern English winter's day. But it was nice. I mean, I never took any gear out with me today. I could have took a little bit of a brew kit out with me, but I didn't, you know. And I thought, you know, I just wanted to go and harvest a few bits and have a look around. Now, guys, I may not be doing a video until after Christmas. I might have said in the previous video, I'm trying to put together some more videos where I'm doing less talking and more getting out and doing stuff. But that's for the future, and that's for the forthcoming year. But at the moment, I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I know I've burbled on, and I've got about 25 minutes of burbling on this, but I thought showing you this bower and showing you what could be done over Christmas. I mean, I've got, oh, by the way, in the cupboard I've got some booze that I've done ready for the Christmas period, which is mostly infused booze, things like sloe gin, raspberry vodka, plum brandy, black currant vodka, all sitting there and doing their thing. I've got to rack it off, got to empty it all out into bottles. But so as I was saying, guys, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. May your type of festivities be what you make them. Make them good. Don't drink too much, don't eat too much. And whatever you have for your midday meal, for your Christmas meal, may it serve you well. May you have a glorious time. And may the worst of your times be the best of your times. Merry Christmas, guys, and have a good New Year. Well, there you go, guys. Just to add on to the end of the video, that's the bower finished. I'll just walk around so you can zoom out. There we go. holly, ivy, and I put the pomander in the middle, and that fills the room with a wonderful sense of well-being.